Fleshies! Are you in there, Fleshies? Today's tale may be a little bit too deep for some of you, a little bit too descriptive for some of you. If you find yourself thinking maybe I shouldn't be listening, then go away. But if you like this story, stick around. You might find yourself getting in over your head. Today's story is one that comes from 1650, about a rather inconvenient practice of burying people a little too quickly. Settle in, for we're about to delve into a story where the term resting in peace takes on a whole new, terrifying, and literal, and frankly very awkward meaning. Prepare yourselves for laid to rest. Fleshy. And now, laid to rest. Our story takes place in 1650 in a small village several kilometers from London. James Gardner was 24 years old when his wife Lydia became very ill. She was 21 and managed to have 3 healthy kids together. The doctor who was caring for Lydia did all he could for her, but it wasn't enough to save her. According to the doctor, she was now dead. James was now beside himself. The death of his wife wasn't something he had planned for, and now he was faced with raising his kids alone or sending them away. He is scared. And can you blame him? After all, this is no small decision to make. Lydia was now ready to be buried. However, they loosely tied the string that went around her finger. It wasn't on purpose. They were simply rushed. The string around her finger was there so that in case she woke up and needed to be rescued, they would hear it. Such precautions were not uncommon in those days. The coffin was lowered into the hole in the ground as James wept and watched. Tears were streaming down his face. The men who were tasked with burying her began to shovel dirt down upon her coffin. After hours of work, the coffin and Lydia's body were now sitting in complete darkness. But something is about to change the silence in this boneyard. Lydia emerged from her catatonic state, now wide awake within her coffin. Confused and scared, she tries to claw her way out of the coffin. The string that was meant to ring the bell, alerting the caretakers, had fallen off. The bell only rang once, and no one heard it. Still, she continued to scream, but no one could hear her. If she could have seen her hands, she would have witnessed lacerations, blood, and a multitude of slivers in her hands. Unfortunately, her panic and screaming is not doing herself any favors. The more she panics, the more she screams, the more oxygen she is losing, and the more carbon dioxide she is producing. Her nails are broken, and she has large slivers under most of her fingernails. Soil was falling on top of her because there were holes in the wood, which made her panic even more. At this point, she is developing a killer headache, and she's beginning to feel quite dizzy, all from the lack of oxygen and the increase in carbon dioxide. Due to the building up of carbon dioxide, she became quite nauseous, and then the nausea led to vomiting. Now the box smells of dirt, blood, and vomit. What makes it worse is the acid in her throw up is beginning to burn her scratches. Another sign that she is suffering from a lack of oxygen is the fact that her legs and arms begin to shake uncontrollably. She is now talking to her youngest as if the child were in her arms. Of course, the baby really isn't there, but you can't prove that to her. She doesn't seem to be aware that her time on this sphere is almost to a close. After handing off the baby, she asks her husband for a drink. But as she takes her drink, she begins to gasp for air. And each and every gasp is more painful than the last. Out of nowhere, her movements were no longer under her control. And soon, Lydia's heart would stop as well. Her death within the coffin, alone and afraid, was not the full extent of her suffering. You see, her senses endured her with a torturous assault. To start off, her eyes, her poor eyes, made it so that she could see the blackness that is her box. Next, her sense of smell was assaulted. She could smell the smell of blood from her desperate attempts to escape. The smell of the wood reminded her of her confinements. And the earthy aroma of the soil, all combined, just made things worse. Then, the added stench of her own bile further overwhelmed her senses. Her cries for help echoed within the coffin. The only other sound is the creaking of the wood that makes up her box. The silence at the end was deafening. Our story doesn't end with her unaliving, though. Some say that if you stand up by her grave, your sense of smell and taste might get assaulted. Some have tasted dirt or vomit or both. Others have smelled blood and vomits. There are even people who say that on the anniversary of her death, July 25th at 5 p.m., one can hear funeral bells ringing. The bells, the very one that should have sounded when she started to move inside the coffin. Some people have even heard her pleas for help. The stories don't stop there, though. Some people say you can see her walking with her children. There are also reports of her holding the baby by the grave. Then there are the reports of a young couple walking hand in hand down the path from the church to her grave before vanishing into the night. Are these the echoes of the past, or just someone's hallucinations? The end. Well, Fleshies, that one touched me deeply. I hope you survived it. Well, there you have it. Fleshy, I hope you enjoyed this gravely good tale of Lydia's unexpected reawakening. It really makes you appreciate a good ventilation system, doesn't it? And perhaps you might wish to invest in a very, very loud bell. As for our esteemed nature guy X46, who brought us this delightful slice of historical horror, one might say he's so down to earth, he might just dig up the story a little too much. And with that, he might just, dare I say, rooted interest. Just make sure your next story doesn't leave us dead tired. So next time you're feeling a little bit confined, just remember Lydia and be glad you can rest easy. Thanks for joining me, the Boneyard Scribe, at the Boneyard Scribe. See you next time, Fleshies. Pleasant nightmares.